Hey guys, this is Olivia Hurst, and I'm going to be sharing with y'all my home, Melissa, Texas. And while Melissa is not the city where I was born or raised, it is where I consider my home. I moved there about 3.5 years ago, and so I spent the majority of my high school in Melissa. And so, for those of y'all who are unaware, this is where it is relative to Austin and in Texas. So it's just northeast of Dallas. If we come in a little bit closer, for those of y'all who are familiar with the area, we get to Plano and then Allen and McKinney, and then Melissa is just north of McKinney. It is the northern, I guess, border of McKinney. It's pretty small. It has just under 10,000 people in it, and it's just above 10 square miles. And so if we come over here, we can learn a little bit about the history of Melissa. Melissa's right off Highway 75, and you can see that right here. We're on 75, and then 121 runs through Melissa. And so Melissa was founded in the early 1800s. And the reason that we first got settlers is because of the Houston and North Texas Central Railroad. And so we were an import shipping point in the early 1900s for corn, wheat, wood, livestock, all sent out through that railroad. Except the one thing that halted those imports were a tornado that struck in 1921, killing a couple of people, injuring 54 people, and demolishing a bunch of businesses. It really tore down the town. Here is a picture of the city of Melissa before that tornado. But obviously, we rebuilt ourselves. And so this is the Melissa as I know it, the city that I live in, the city where I kind of grew up throughout high school. That is our high school right there. And so if we come over here, we have Harry McKillop Elementary, Melissa Ridge Intermediate, Melissa Middle School, and Melissa High School. And right now, the only place that I don't have a tie to is MRI right here. Harry McKillop Elementary, I went every single Friday during football season to open doors for the little kids during carpool. And then we would stay and read to them. And so Harry McKillop is somewhere that I kind of consider my home. And it's the same thing with Melissa Middle School. I went to Melissa to help the kids out with tutoring a lot during the school year through NHS and other organizations. And my church actually takes place in Melissa Middle School. I'll get to that a little bit later. Right now, Melissa High School. This is where I kind of made my home. This is where I was first introduced. Whenever I first came to Melissa before we moved here, I was given a tour of MHS, and it was so much smaller than what I was used to, but it was still cool. And one thing that I think is really funny, this is our new website, but we're still in the picture. These are the student council officers from last year. So there I am. They still have me on their website. But Melissa is just honestly such a great place to be. And so I hold that really near and dear to me. This is our city hall. It's one of the prettiest city halls, I think. It's really gorgeous. So Melissa definitely isn't an eyesore by any means. However, there isn't much to do in Melissa. So if you're looking for something to do, you pretty much have hanging out with friends. There are a couple of places to eat, a couple of gas stations, and then there are the cliffs. As for the gas stations, Racetrack is definitely the best. We got that about 2.5 years ago. Other than that, we just had kind of sketchy Valero stations. So we were super excited when an actual gas station came to Melissa. As for Maria's, that is probably everybody's favorite place to eat in Melissa. If you ask anybody, um, Maria's is just amazing. Oh my goodness, the food is so good. It's an awesome little Mexican food restaurant, and you cannot go there without seeing somebody else that you know, no matter where it is or how you know them. You will find somebody that you know at Maria's. And so that's one thing that's just really cool about living in such a small town, is just that sense of community. And then moving over here back to my church, the Parks Church in Melissa is one place where I really put in my roots whenever I first moved here. The Parks Church has multiple locations, but the Melissa location was first founded in March of when I moved here, and I moved here in March. So it was just a couple of weeks after I moved here that the church was founded. So it was a really cool experience kind of growing up with the church and being a part of it from the very beginning. And so we do take place in the middle school right now. We don't have a location or anything, but it's definitely a place where if I never ever need anybody, that is where I go, or I contact one of my leaders. And this is one quote that is kind of very prevalent in our church. Our heart is to reach the city of Melissa, one neighborhood at a time. We desire to live lives in deep relationship with one another. And so that's one thing that we try and pursue every single day, not just on Sundays whenever we meet up. And so the Parks Church is definitely a place that I found my home. And so one of the things that I brought up earlier, the cliffs, I pulled up a cool little video that some guys made that is very artsy. So I thought I would share it with you guys. It's just a really fun place to hang out with friends and just go after school or during the summer and just kind of get some away time. It's kind of a really cool place to go. Melissa doesn't have many of those, but this is definitely one of them. So I'm going to play the video for you guys. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. And as you can see, it's just a really gorgeous location. It's a great place to go and hang out with friends and just really bond together as a community. It's one place that is so special to me and so special to everybody in Melissa that lives there. And that's one thing that I think is super cool is that there are a lot of places that aren't just special to one person, they're special to many. But one of the places that is special, probably just to me and my family, is my home. And so my house is right here in Melissa. If we scooch out a little bit, this is 121 and this is 75 where I showed you guys earlier. And so the exit from 75 to get to Melissa is right here. And so if we zoom in, and Melissa has it all. You can have a huge, 3-acre backyard, or you can have that cute little suburb home. We went for kind of the bigger backyard so that my little puppy can run around. But this is our house right here. Obviously, it was taken during winter because none of the trees have any leaves on them. But normally they are full and blooming and growing. But this is the house that I've spent the past 3.5 years in, and it's where I consider my home to be. And one of the things that I think is so cool about Melissa, we are huge on sports. Sports is kind of everything in Melissa, especially football. We won the state championship in 2011, and so that was a really big deal to us. And over the years, we adapted something very similar to UT. Our water tower, whenever we win a game, lights up red, just like at UT, how the tower lights up orange. And so that's one thing that I thought was funny, kind of a cool similarity between UT and Melissa. But we do have a really close community. This is a picture of us before the season started. Everybody goes down on the field and we pray over the season and over what's to come for the year. And this is just a really cool picture. It's the same event. We call it Meet the Cardinal, where everybody goes. They can meet the players, the cheerleaders, cross country runners, everybody. The little kids love it. And one thing about Melissa that I love is that that sense of community is just so strong. And that's one thing that everybody can share together is just that love for football and that love for just everybody else. And so I have a little Melissa Cardinal football video over here. We take our football very seriously. Sometimes I like to joke that we have more coaches than teachers because the majority of the teachers also coach as well. But yeah, this is our stadium. This is kind of a nice overview of Melissa and what we're all about. Of course, this video will focus on football. But one thing that's really cool is that this is our home stadium, and you cannot find a single seat that is available during home football games because the entire city comes out to watch. And so it is just a really cool experience for everybody that's there. The stadium was actually rebuilt pretty recently but it's something that everybody can just come and enjoy.